Greetings, brothers and sisters. We're back with another Bible study. Make sure you catch up by watching the last one so you can see where we left off. Today we're going to continue on counting numbers. That's where we're at. I also brought my little pointer hand that I made a few months ago. Counting numbers. Hopefully it's not too much of a distraction. Based on Numbers chapter 10. Take my glasses, put on my glasses. God is great. All the time. Please excuse me. I took a sip of some water before we get started. Actually just had to scarf down a meal. Let's get busy, ladies and gentlemen. Counting numbers based on chapter 10. Excitement spreads through the camp as the people talk more and more about the promised land God will lead them to. One day, the blast of two great silver trumpets filled the air. This is the signal for all the people to come to the tent of the meeting. Something important is going to happen. We have two gentlemen over here playing the trumpets. The people drop what they are doing and hurry to the tent of the meeting. Does this mean we are going to move? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see our orders to come from God. Rise up, O Lord. May your friends' enemies flee before you. Look, the cloud is lifting. This is the sign. Eagerly, the people line up to march toward the promised land. The priests lead the formation, carrying the sacred Ark of the Covenant. And Moses counts the numbers of Israelites as they pass by, following God's instructions. Now, if you remember, the Ark of the Covenant had the commandments, and we went over the commandments on our last Bible study. Next, quail coming out of their noses, based on Numbers chapter 11. High on a hilltop, Moses watches the Israelites march towards the promised land. God is leading us, so we don't have to be afraid of anything. Moses is right. The people have nothing to fear. Even though they march through a wilderness, God continues to provide manna for them to eat. Now remember, manna is bread, but it's basically, at that time, it was said to be like yeast that fell from the sky. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say yeast. I would say grain, but they made bread from it, manna. But after several days, the people begin to complain again. There goes that pattern of complaining. Remember? How long have we been eating this? This, whatever it is. Manna. I'm getting so tired of it. Now that's ungratefulness. They're not showing gratitude for the manna that was given to them. They're starting to get picky instead of being appreciative and being thankful. Remember, you always got to be thankful. You got to be thankful before you receive your gift. So before they got the manna, they should have already been thankful for the manna. But they're starting to show signs of unappreciation. Don't we have anything else to eat? Look at this guy's also saying the same thing. No, remember the melons and meat we had in Egypt? They would taste pretty good right now. And the cucumbers? Daddy, remember the cucumbers? Yeah, I thought God promised to take care of us. There you go. They're starting to, dwell on the past. The little kid said, Daddy, remember the cucumbers? He showed excitement for the cucumbers. That's a shame. Because something is better than nothing. Some people don't even have manna to eat. You know what I mean? So you always got to be thankful for whatever you have, whatever's on the table. Remember, it's God's provision. God provided it for you. God's rage is, I'm sorry, God's rage burns at the Israelites' petty complaints, and then so do their tents. Fire breaks out in the Israelites' camp, and the people are forced to pause their complaining while they try to beat back the flames. You see? They didn't show gratitude for the simple things in life, and their tents ended up getting burnt. Did God send the lightning to burn our tents? Maybe it's a warning for us to stop grumbling about the food he has given us. Help us, Moses. We'll lose the whole camp. This is Moses. Only God's mercy can help you now. I'll pray for you. And as Moses prays, the fire goes out on his own. So Moses is a bad mamma jamma. Moses, remember, he's the peer mediator. He's the one with the divine connection to God. Now, what I've noticed throughout this far in this Bible, we're at page 180. What I've noticed throughout these last several stories is every couple generations, there'll be people who have a great divine connection with God, right? From Adam and Eve's lineage, you have Abraham, you have Noah, you have Moses, you have Lot, you have Joseph, right? You have several individuals that throughout their respective stories, they have a really divine connection with God. And in this case, Moses is the one with the divine connection. Look, the fire is out. I saw it with my own eyes. When Moses prayed, the fire died out. From now on, I won't complain about anything Moses asks us to do. You see? I hope you guys can hear me. I'm sorry, I didn't even do a follow-up and check the audio. But the ungrateful Israelites have short memories. Many of them complain because God has not given them meat as well as manna to eat. Moses prays again for, I'm sorry, Moses prays again to ask God for help. You want meat? The Lord says, you will have meat soon. And plenty of it. So much meat that it will make you sick. So much meat that it will be coming out of your noses. How can anyone, even God, find meat for all of us in the desert? Uh-oh. There goes their hesitation. There goes their doubt. Remember, their doubt, even the smallest, it's kind of like the reverse opposite of Matthew chapter 17, verse 20 and 21, where it says, for I truly tell you, all you need is to have a mustard seed of faith, and you can tell this mountain move from here to there, and it will move, and all things will be possible. Well, the reverse can be said with having a mustard seed of doubt can spread like the wildfire, like plague. It can be a plague in your mind. And that's all it takes is one small whisper in your mind to cause destruction. Now, before we get back to this, I also want to let you guys know that, remember that verse, you can tell this mountain move from here to there. Back in biblical days, mountains were the equivalent of problems. So if you would have a problem, you wouldn't say, oh man, I got a lot of problems. You would say, I have mountains. Oh man, I'm battling this mountain, which was equivalent to a problem. So when they say, you can tell this mountain move from here to there, they're not, necessarily saying a 3 mile tall mountain can move from here to there. I mean, but who knows? I guess anything, if God parted the waters, who knows? Maybe he can literally move a mountain. But in the event of the Bible, mountains were your problems. So you would say, this mountain can move from here to there. Thank you very much. Nothing like it. I greatly appreciate the support. Thank you. So that's just a little footnote. I don't know, but Moses tells us the truth. I saw the fire die out when he asked God for help. So I believe him when he says God will send us meat. So these gentlemen, they're not putting their faith in God. They're like, oh, but we're in the desert. How in the world is he going to find enough meat for all of us to eat? You see them over here talking. They're over here showing doubt. So this one right here, he says, I believe in Moses. Moses came through. Moses came through a lot. So I think we should go with believe in him. Suddenly, the wind begins to blow from the sea, and with it comes a great flock of quail that cover the sky like a cloud. Wow, look at all of this. See all these black things up top? That's quail. Now, if I'm correct, quail is a bird, right? That's incredible. So God ended up providing, right? Remember they said that maybe we should believe in him, and then they said, oh, but how is he going to find enough meat for us in this desert? Now, guess what? He found meat for them in the desert. He literally basically delivered the food to them. As the quail land on the desert, the Israelites pick up all they can carry. So it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Meat, all we can eat. Literally, I just said that, right? So you see them picking up quails, and quails in this case are birds. So they're all grabbing quails. Let's save enough to eat for later on. Uh-oh. Remember that last time when they saved and the food spoiled and they ended up upsetting God, right? Because you have to listen. A, you have to obey. That's one of the first things you have to do. You have to obey God's command. You can't, basically, by doing what you want to do and saying, oh, but what if there's not enough food tomorrow? That's doubt. And all it takes is the smallest amount of doubt to not be a believer. God wants you to put all your trust into him. So don't wonder, don't question. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to try to put something onto this book so I can elevate it. Because I feel like that glare. It's causing a glare. So he wants you to have 100% faith. And sometimes it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. And I can tell you from experience, sometimes it's hard to have faith. So it's tough. They were in the desert. There was nothing out there. I mean, I guess, there's a saying, you can't blame them for not having faith, because it's like, realistically speaking, where are we going to get this meat from? But God made magic. He made the birds not only come, but the birds fell from the sky. So they got food, and guess what? This one's already talking about, let's save some to eat for later. How many more baskets do I have to gather? Get as many as you can. At least we'll have all the meat we need, you see? They're starting to think diabolical, and they're starting to think for themselves, like more selfish. The people stuff themselves until many of them are sick, you see? Look at them. They're all sick in the stomach. It serves me right. I was too greedy. Have you guys ever eaten that much, like, where your stomach starts hurting? Like, it felt like a good idea in the beginning, and then you're like, oh man, I think I ate too much. And then you don't have that same enjoyment that you once had when you started to eat. Soon after this, the order comes to continue the journey once again. A cloud leads the people day by day, and a pillar of fire leads them at night. They travel to a campsite closer to the homeland God promised them. No sooner is camp set up than Moses' own brother and sister turns against him. What? Moses' brother and sister turn against him? Are you serious? Moses acts as if he is the only spokesman for God. He seems to forget Aaron, that you are the high priest. So Aaron is Moses' brother, and his sister is Miriam. You understand? I don't know if you guys remember that, but in the Bible, Moses had a brother named Aaron who was a high priest, and he had a sister. His sister was Miriam. And what's interesting is Miriam is a very common name. I actually had a cousin, she passed away, and her name was Miriam. And then my pop's mom that also passed away was also a Miriam. So that goes to show you, Miriam. I didn't know, my whole life, I didn't know that they were named after somebody in the Bible. All right. The next one is sibling rivalry, based on Numbers chapter 12. After all these years, Aaron and Miriam are tired of always following the command of their little brother, Moses. Why does God favor him? You're right, Miriam. It's time we have a little talk with our brother, their little brother, to be specific. So Moses is the little brother, but he's the one with the divine connection, right? In anger, they go to Moses. We're tired of having you run everything, Moses. Do you think you are the only one that can speak for God? Didn't God call Aaron to be the high priest? And don't forget, I'm a prophetess too. So that's Miriam talking. She's speaking on behalf of her brother Aaron to Moses. And she's saying, well, I'm a prophetess too. So I'm assuming, you know, how for a male, you will be a prophet. And if you're a female, you will be a prophetess. Because that's how it's spelled here. Prophetess, prophetess. Before Moses can answer, God calls the three of them to the tent of the meeting. Wow, so they're getting like divine conversation from God. That is incredible. I say this and I say it again and again. I would love to just hear an audible voice. Oh my gosh, I think that would be so cool. And not just be a voice in my head. Because if all three of them got called to go to the tent, that means one of two things. A, it was an audible voice and he spoke out loud where all three of them heard it. Or B, he spoke in each of their minds and they all three heard it at the same time, which is pretty psychedelic. I have always spoken to my people through dreams and visions. Moses is the first prophet I have ever spoken with face to face. Doesn't that tell you something? Don't you think you should be afraid to disrespect my chosen deliverer? Then the cloud disappears when Miriam and Aaron look around. They get the shock of their lives. Wow. That's crazy. So you heard what God said? God said, I have always spoken to my people through dreams and visions. Holy smokes. So if you have a dream, God speaking to you. If you have a vision, damn, I had some visions, well, respectfully. I don't want to say damn because I know some people consider damn a swear. Beaver dam. Beaver dam. I had a vision this past Sunday when I was in church. That's so cool. So they're given by God. So God gave me that vision that I saw. That is cool. All right. And what he's saying is in the Bible, Moses is the first one that he spoke to face to face. So put some respect on Moses and don't disrespect him because that's the chosen deliverer. New. Hopefully you guys learned something new too. Throughout the whole Bible, the very first one that God actually spoke to face was Moses. Let's try to remember that. So when he was speaking to Abraham, when he was speaking to Lot, when he was speaking to all of them, I'm assuming it wasn't audible. I'm assuming it was visions and dreams and thoughts, right? Miriam discovers that she suddenly has leprosy. Wow, leprosy, guys. Leprosy has begun. The disease the Israelites dread the most. Oh no, why did I speak against Moses? Help me, help me. She got leprosy, guys. We were wrong, Moses, but don't hold it against us. Please, can't you help Miriam? Oh God, can heal. Oh, I'm sorry. Only God can heal her, Aaron, but I will pray for her. Heal her now. Oh God, I beg you. God agrees to heal Miriam, but first she is banished from the camp for 7 days. Wow. So A, she got sick. B, he prayed and he got answered immediately. Now, on very rare occasions, I don't know about you guys, like prayers would get answered instantly. Like it's weird because I kind of prayed today and like I kind of got like it kind of went well. So I take that as an instant answer. And remember, no task is too large or too big for God. You know, you don't have to think small. You could think big. So that's interesting. She was banished for 7 days. On the seventh day, Miriam returns as high priest. Aaron accepts her back into the camp. I have learned my lesson, Aaron. My selfish pride was a sin. Selfish pride. Wow, those two words together are astonishing. So was mine. We should never question God's wisdom again. You see, God had a plan for them and they wanted to do their own thing and doubt it and talk down on Moses and talk down on God. Next is spy versus spy. Based on Numbers chapter 13, verse 1 through 14 and 10. I'm sorry, chapter 13, verse 1 through chapter 14, verse 10. So over here we have a map. This is a map. I don't know if you guys got a good view of it. This is a map of Egypt, the route of the spies. Remember, this is called spy versus spy. You have the Mediterranean Sea. You have the wilderness of Paran. You have the Israelite camp right here, the Israelite camp. You have Canaan. Canaan is where the Canaanites came from. The Israelites continue their journey until they reach the wilderness of Paran. There, Moses orders them to set up camp. Moses calls one man from each tribe to attend an important meeting. We are on the border of Canaan, the land God has promised to us. But before we go into it, we must know what lies ahead. What are your plans? We need to explore the land, Joshua. We must find out what the people are like, how many rivers we will have to cross, how well the cities are fortified. It's a dangerous job, but it must be done. Each man here can act as a scout, and we'll get started right away. Look at that city and the size of those walls. So there's a whole city right here, and they sent out some of their men to scout, which makes sense to delegate the task. So it's just not him or them doing it by themselves. A few miles away, look, giants. No one in our camp could stand up against any of those men. Wow, guys. I kind of got like an infatuation with giant just beings in general. There's like a euphoria that I get when I think about giant beings. And like before the Bible, you would think that like it was fake, like giants, right? But when I put all the pieces of the puzzle together, if you look at a lot of the churches and the cathedrals around the world, some of their doorways are like 25, 30 feet tall with gigantic doors. A lot of the government and public buildings and like coliseums, gigantic doorways, gigantic windows where you look at a person next to the doorway and they look like a little tiny speck. And so on. And then when you look at the pyramids, you know, I know they say, especially in the Bible, they say that the Israelites, they were slaves and they helped build the pyramids, right? But knowing that giants were in the Bible and giants, there's a great chance of giants being a legit thing, right? There's a high probable chance because if you believe in the Bible, you kind of got to go with what's going on in there. That means that could they have played a role? Like, could they have walked on Earth? And like, I don't know. It's just hard for me to fathom, but it's kind of cool because it gives me like a little dopamine rush in my brain when I think about it. It's kind of like going off into like fairy tale land almost. It's like a cross between fact and fiction, right? Or fiction and nonfiction. And in a rich valley, I'm assuming this is when we're going to have the battle of David and Goliath soon. I don't know. I'm just guessing.